Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the new Richard D. James EP that some people might not classify as an EP, but we'll get to that. Black Box Live Recorder 21F or In a Room 7. And honestly, I really like it. I really like it. I'm not sure if I love it yet, but I'm pretty sure I probably am if I just listen to it more. And I think if you're just disappointed with this EP, I would just recommend listening to it over and over and over again to really just hone in on the fine details, because there are a lot to this EP, a lot more than just beyond the surface. I love the single that came out about a few months ago, Black Box Live Recorder 21F. That's a fantastic track. I love the melodies on this track. Very, very memorable melodies. And I especially love like the voice like synthesizer or whatever it is, but it sounds kind of similar to a voice synthesizer, but just the, yeah, just the repeating vocal melody is great. And you know, Aphex Twin doesn't really use a whole lot of voice stuff or vocals that frequently, so it's just nice to see him going back into that lane. And in fact, speaking of going back into a similar lane or going back into the same lane, this really does feel like just an evolved version or a better version, in my opinion, than some of the tracks off of the Richard D. James album, especially Zen 2 Test 5, I think it is, the second track. Love that track as well. I just like how ambient it is and how just calm and chilled out the drum beat is. It's just a very nice ambient track and really, again, reminds me of the Richard D. James album, which I loved. So it's just a really nice surprise to see this kind of side of him come back. And the real highlight of this EP, and the reason why I think you should just get it anyways, is for In a Room 760. The highlight of this EP and is a masterpiece. I just love the phases that this song go through, from the like very nice bass melody to just the very, very, very memorable and very catchy, very kind of nostalgic feeling, but sci-fi feeling as well, main synth melody at the beginning. I love that synth melody a lot. And the second half is also fantastic. This is just a masterpiece of a song, and if I were to recommend any song from this EP, it would easily be this one. Amazing track. And then the last track is just a remix of the first one, which I don't mind. I actually like it as well. I like the more drum-focused approach, especially just focusing way more on like the higher frequencies of the drums, like, you know, hi-hats or snare drum, or not snare drums, but like, you know, higher frequencies of drums, of electronic drums is what I mean. And I like just the more ambient feel of this track. And it's just more static and chilled out than the first track, even though it is just a remix. But I like it. I really like this EP. And I know some people would be disappointed because it's only 15 minutes long, and, you know, it's not as like frantic as the Collapse EP, but I think this is a good, you know, I think this is a good representation of where Aphex Twin is going, like in terms of just sonically. He's just combining a lot of the elements from his earlier work, but just making it more complex, just adding more melodies onto it. And even the more simpler tracks on here, I feel like a lot of the time are more complex than a lot of the stuff on like his early stuff. And that's not to say his early stuff is bad. I love his early stuff, like the Richard D. James album, I Care Because You Do. I mean, fucking classic. Ambient, it's like that ambient works. Fucking fantastic album. Drug Cues. Every album from him is great. But just this and Collapse are just examples of him evolving his sound, and are the most recent example of new Aphex Twin. And there might be some like live show stuff, but if you are bummed out with this album, which you might be, again, I suggest just listening to it over and over and over again and just getting more into the fine details of this EP, not album. I keep trying to call it an album, but if you just can't get used to it, there's so much more Aphex Twin material than I think just a lot of people just looking up on the surface even know about. I mean, there's so many different aliases Aphex Twin has gone under, or Richard has gone under. It's insane. There's like the Tuss, there's the Analord series, there's AFX. There's so many aliases, and yeah, there's just so much material from Aphex Twin. And then there's the live shows, there's the SoundCloud dumps. There's so much more than just what's under the surface and just his mainline albums. But yeah, that's basically it. I really like this EP, and I'll probably love it when I listen to it even more. But yeah, really enjoyable EP. I love the more chilled out feeling that this had compared to like Collapse especially, and really reminds me of the Richard D. James era, and also, but just has more complex drum patterns and just better drum patterns in my opinion. Even if they're not like as quite as frantic and like, you know, as like don't have as nearly as many like rolling you know, snare drums like, you know, the Richard D. James album had. I still think the drums are better on this album, and they're great. I think this album is also mixed pretty well and produced very well. Or not album. I keep calling it an album. It's an EP or a double single, whatever you want to call it. I guess it's a double single. I don't know, but it's classified as an EP, so I'm just again gonna call it that. But that's gonna be about it, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.